friends, and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to dive into all of my thoughts and feelings on Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. First, I do want to say a big thank you to Libro FM for giving me a free audiobook listening copy of this story. I really enjoyed the audiobook aspect of it and listening to it, so I will disclaim this by saying that I did listen to all of it on audio. I am just so grateful to have received a free audiobook listening copy to read and review. Alright, so let's just jump into my thoughts. I read Deep End in the month of April, and I think I didn't really know how to feel about it at first. I had a lot of thoughts and I didn't know quite how to synthesize it, but I did find the book to be disappointing considering how much hype Ali Hazelwood's books get. I don't know if it was just this book and me, but I do know that a lot of people have been a little bit disappointed by this one, and unfortunately I have to say that I was part of that group. I just think that I've read so many better sports romances than this one, and in the heels of reading Unloved by Peyton Corinne, this just fell flat for me. I didn't really feel connected to the characters and the storyline. I felt for the main character a little bit, but it just didn't all come together for me, unfortunately. Okay, so the first aspect of the story that I want to talk about is the romance. This, to me, seemed a little bit of an insta-lust situation, which is not something that I generally like in books. It has a progression that felt a little bit unnatural, like it wasn't very realistic to me. And the whole premise of the story is that Vandy and Penelope are the competitive divers, and her best friend Penelope is dating this competitive swimmer named Lucas, and they break up because of their sexual preferences. Penelope is very vanilla, and Lucas likes a lot of kink. And just the fact that she jokes that her ex-boyfriend and her best friend should get together is a little bit like jarring for me to read about. I didn't love that. I kind of knew from the beginning that I wasn't gonna really like this friend because she seemed very manipulative and a little bit toxic, and that was one of the things that detracted. But going back to the romance, I feel like it was just too insta-lust for me. I get that the foundation of the relationship is supposed to be the physical aspects of it, because the reason why they even get together is because they have similar sexual preferences, but I didn't feel like they ever really connected emotionally or on a deeper level. And I think that the book just had some kink that didn't work for me, and it's not a major issue, but for personal taste, it's not something that I love. Also, the hero seemed to be too perfect and he didn't have like any defined flaws. That irked me about Lucas's character, and it reminded me of reasons why I haven't liked other heroes in the past. I found his character to be a little bit bland, milquetoast, and lacking character development because he didn't have those flaws. And I just felt like the male main character didn't see any growth happen in the narrative, which I find to be frustrating. In my romances, I like it when both the male and female main characters grow through the story, and that's part of their journey. But he just fell flat for me and felt one-dimensional, unfortunately. Moving on to another aspect of the story that I strongly disliked. Scarlett, or Vandy, who is the female main character, her best friend in the book is a straight up terrible person. I just could not forgive her, and the third act conflict that she brought to the story just didn't add to the story for me. It made me dislike her so much more, and yet somehow I saw that it was coming. It was like foreshadowed throughout the story that she was not going to be okay with the relationship, and I just wish I could have understood more of why Scarlett was so attracted to having Penelope as a friend, but I couldn't find a reason to justify the relationship. I know that we're supposed to dislike another side character that says Penelope is a snake, but honestly, I kind of agreed with that assessment of her personality. She just comes across as like a spoiled little child, very self-absorbed, and she doesn't really consider anyone's feelings but her own in the story, and I just think those things are frustrating. And I mean, this could have worked for me if she had seen some growth in the story. If at the very beginning she does a lot of immature things, and by the end of it she's like, hey, I'm so sorry, I realized that what I did in the past was not okay, I never should have behaved that way, then yes, her character would have made more sense to me, and I can definitely forgive a main character for being unlikable. I just think that the things that she was doing were unnecessary, and it wasn't just being unlikable because that was the point. It's supposed to be that she has some flaws as a person, which I just didn't agree with. I don't know, I didn't feel like it was justified, and I don't think that she learns any at all. She always gets what she wants, and I found that to be very frustrating as a whole. Okay, so talking about things that I did like about this story, because I did rate it almost a 3-star. It just had some aspects that I really strongly disliked, which was what dropped it to the 2.75, but I did like the swimming aspect. I don't think I've read a lot of other stories that have like competitive swimming and competitive diving in it, and that was one of the areas of the plot that I didn't have issues with. I wish the story had been more focused on that and been more about like Scarlett's journey with her own identity and self-acceptance. The book would have been so much more impactful, to me at least, if it had been more of a literary fiction than a romance, especially considering the two main characters characters are apart for so much of the story because of their like schedules. And I think that her struggles were very relatable to me. I liked being in her perspective because I resonated with her character and it meant that I could root for her. But I wish that we'd gotten a little bit more of Lucas's perspective in the romance. I just think that he is so limited in the text. We don't really know much about his background except for the things that he shares with Vandy, and that just kind of limits his development in the story as a whole. If this story had just focused on Scarlet, I think that it could have been a 4.5, maybe even a 5-star book for me. But because it had to have that romance aspect and that was the main driving force of the story, it just fell flat for me. I didn't connect with it. And like I said, they were a part so much of the story that you don't really see, why are these two people together? Like, why are they connected? I don't know. I think that they should have spent more time together, or there should have been more reasoning for them to get together, except for the fact that her best friend said that they should. They don't feel like a good fit to me or fully compatible. I know that Ali Hazelwood tries to drive home that they are compatible, but I didn't find that to be the case, in my opinion. Another aspect that I really enjoyed about the story was listening to it on audio. That definitely enhanced my reading experience. This would have been a much lower rating probably if I'd read the book physically, and I really liked that it had duet narration. So duet narration is when there is a male narrator and a female narrator, and the male narrates all of the male's parts and the female narrates all the female parts. So they switch off back and forth. In every chapter you get both the male and female narrator, and I love that. I really felt a little more connected to the characters when otherwise I would have felt completely disconnected. So I appreciated that aspect of it, and this is something that I generally like in my audiobooks. I will say that the male narrator's accent was part of what got me hooked into the story and kept me going when it felt like there were so many parts of the narrative that just weren't working for me. And if you decide that you're going to read this one, you definitely have to go with the audiobook route for sure. It enhances the experience greatly, and I would love to listen to more audiobooks that feature duet narration in the future because it's a very engaging way of telling a story. I think that's what saved this for me personally from just being an utter complete disaster. So my overall thoughts with this one is a little bit conflicted, but I didn't hate it. But there are definitely better sports romances out there. It's such a shame, especially because this is one of my most anticipated releases of 2025. This was one of the books that was on my list of 25 books to read in 2025, and for it to be such a disappointment was just so sad for me. I haven't ruled out reading more of Ali Hazelwood's books in the future, but I'm definitely going to take a minute before trying one of her books again. I just think that this was a little bit overhyped, and there could have been a better book on my list of top books to read this year and in my 25 books to read in 25 list. I just feel like I wasted my time a little bit with this story, so you can make of that what you will. I personally think that this is not one that worked for me, but may work for you. If some of the things that I mentioned don't bother you, or if you do like the kinky aspects of the story, I think you should definitely try out Deep End. I don't resonate with that myself, but I know some people will really enjoy it, and there are a lot of people out there that already have and have given it rave reviews because of that. I think that I need a little bit more character connection and character driven storyline, and my romances, I want them to feel like they're more than just a physical or a sexual connection. I want them to feel very emotionally connected to each other, which was just lacking in this book. So maybe that won't bother you. Maybe you're just here to read it for the smut, and if that's the case, more power to you. I think that you'll really enjoy this book. If you are like me and like a little bit of a deeper connection, maybe skip out on this one, or if you do really want to try it, check out the audiobook because I think that really saves the experience and makes it a more interesting read overall. Alright, so those are all of my thoughts on Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Have you read this book, or have you read any other books written by her? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you planning on reading this? If you haven't yet, let me know why or why not. And if you like this video, give it a like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for the support, and wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, I hope that you are doing well, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye!